2023. I will read through the items briefly. We have 6 items on consent agenda and 7 items, I believe, items 7 through 14. That would be 8 items on the consent agenda. For those that may not have a copy of that, I'll read them very briefly. Items number 1 is surety and renewals extension for the city of Gallatin. Item number 2 is Red River Townhomes, a final plat. Item number 3 is Langford Farms, Phase 2, final plat. Item number 4 is McCain Station Commercial, Phase 2, a minor subdivision plat. Item 5 is Oak Hill Subdivision, Phase 3, a preliminary plat. And item 6 is Chandler Marketplace, Lot 1 of the Chandler Park Subdivision, Phase 2, preliminary plat. Those items will be considered consent agenda unless someone pulls one of the items and places it on the regular agenda. The items on our regular agenda this evening are item number 7, Project Bowtie, a site plan. Item 8 is 505 Colds Ferry Road, accessory structure, site plan with alternative architecture. Item number 9 is Phase 1A renovations and additions for the Gallatin Department of Electricity, a site plan. And item number 10 is Villas on the Green, Phase 1 and 2, amended preliminary master development plans and revised final master development plans. I'm sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. That item number 10 will have a public comment. And then item number 11 is Northfield Church New Family amended preliminary master development plan and revised final master development plan. That will also include a public comment. Item 12 is McCain Station Hotel, an amended preliminary master development plan and revised final master development plan, which will also include a public comment. And item number 13 is McCain Station Self-Storage, an amended preliminary master development plan and revised final master development plan, which will also include a public comment. And item number 14 is Gallatin Marina Office Building and revised site plan. With that being said, Mary Ann, will you, Albert, will you lead us in an invocation? We did not. I will.
Before you thank you for this day, this opportunity to come before your throne. We ask you to bless this meeting, bless our community, bless those who are less fortunate that we bless our sick and shut in. Keep us in your care, direct us and guide us that we do the things you find pleasing in your sight. We ask it all in Christ's name before we sing. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Wilson, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mary Ann, will you please call the roll?
Chair Pereira.
Here.
Vice Chair Harris.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Councilwoman George. Mr. Strouder.
Here.
Mayor Brown.
Present.
Mr. Morrell.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Does the Secretary have prior minutes to submit for approval?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got minutes dated March the 27th, April 3rd. I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second by Albert Strawther. Any discussion regarding the minutes? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. The minutes have been approved. The consent agenda items I read off, is there any member of the commission or staff member who wishes to pull any one of those items off and place it on the regular agenda, or for that matter, the applicant? Seeing none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve items 1 through 6 as consent agenda approval.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Harris, seconded by Mr. Wilson. Any discussion on items 1 through 6? Then all in favor of approval of the consent agenda, including items 1 through 6, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion approved. Consent agenda approved. We'll move into item number 7, which is resolution number 2023-041, Project Bowtie, site plan. Which staff member is presenting this item?
I do. The owner and applicant are requesting approval of a site plan for Project Bowtie, phases 1 and 2, for a office, manufacturing, and warehouse space and associated infrastructure on a 64.25 acre parcel located south and east of Airport Road and north of Coles Ferry Road. The property is split zoned IR Industrial Restrictive and IG Industrial General Districts. Phase 1 will include buildings 1 and 2 and be located adjacent to the existing gas station at Coles Ferry Road and Airport Road. Phase 2 will include buildings 3 and 4 and will be located adjacent to the Haganese factory. Any future expansions shown are included in the site plan and will be constructed sometime in the future with the approval of administrative site plans. The city greenway alignment also extends to this property as shown with the comprehensive plan, and we would ask for more details of this, but we anticipate this to be in the Coles Ferry area. They did provide us with drainage, utility, and site layout plans for this pretty large development. There are some details to still work out between drainage calculations, which have been provided, as well as a traffic study. Both of those things are both in review, and so if there are changes that come from that, they would need to be reflected in this site plan for staff to look over. The primary building facades consist of concrete panels and metal panels with curtain glass walls along the main office facades. This is the design scheme for buildings 1 and 2. And then we have the design scheme for buildings 3 and 4. The Planning Commission will need to determine if the alternative architecture is equal to or superior to code-required architecture. This alternative architecture is similar to other industrial projects that we have recently seen. The buffer yards will be provided adjacent to the residential properties to the west and south. With some minor revisions, the landscaping plan will also meet all of the requirements. Staff recommends to the Planning Commission approval of resolution number 2023-041 with 26 conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jillian. If we have a representative for the applicant, please come forward and to the podium and state your name for the record.
Good afternoon. I'm Matt Anderson with Alan Nyer, representing the development team. I guess just to give a high-level review of what we spoke with at the work session, we do have a tenant that is interested on the western parcel that we're going to be building into to suit their needs. And then on the east side, the two buildings are speculative in nature as of right now, unless we do find a future tenant. But as of our current request is to go ahead and request an approval of our site plan to move forward with the engineering design review post-planning commission. In regards to the 26 items on the conditions for approval, there's only one condition that we would like to reword just to be a little more accurate to what we think is going to be appropriate for the site. And that is item number 15, which is currently read as relocate driveway for building 3 to align with driveway across Airport Road to meet driveway spacing requirements. We would like to modify that to say applicant to work with the Gallatin Engineering Department to provide adequate site access, just so we can make sure that we are meeting those spacing requirements and everything else that's going to be appropriate for a safe roadway. So besides that, we're okay with all the other conditions.
What was the item number that you wanted?
Item number 15.
Did you say 15?
15, 1-5.
Well, I'll lead off engineering. How do you feel about the rewording of condition number 15, as the applicant has stated?
As long as we're able to meet the spacing requirements from the Gallatin on the move plan, then I feel like we can work with the applicant to accomplish that.
Okay.
You're good-
Questions?
You're good with the rest of the conditions of
Yes.
approval? Okay. I don't have any questions. It's a good-looking project, and it's in the right spot, so.
Agreed.
Okay. A motion to approve with staff's 26 conditions of approval, however, rewording condition 15 to read that the applicant shall work with staff to ensure drive access spacing is
Adequate?
adequate.
Good?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Harris with a modified condition 15, seconded by C.J. Morrell. Any discussion? See none, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion approved. Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Item number 8 is resolution number 2023-056, 505 Coles Ferry Road, accessory structure, a site plan with alternative architecture. Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jim Carpenter, staff planner. The owner applicant requests approval of a site plan with alternative architecture for a 1,500 square foot accessory structure on a 1.53 acre lot zoned R15 PRD, medium density residential planned residential development located at 505 Coles Ferry Road. The detached accessory structure will consist of primarily metal siding on all sides and is smaller than the primary structure on the lot. While this is the first site plan with alternative architecture for the Langley Estates subdivision, there are at least 3 similarly sized metal structures within properties on the south side of Coles Ferry Road. However, those are in the county. Staff recommends denial of resolution number 2023-056.
Thank you, Jim. Do we have a representative for the applicant or the applicant themselves?
Hi, I'm the homeowner, John Jenkins.
Have you had the opportunity to read through staff's report?
Yes, I did.
You want to comment on that? Or
Yeah,
anything?
I just wanted to bring up the color of the structure matches my house. I worked with the barn store, and it's a matte finish, which they said is a little bit of an upgraded finish on it to kind of match more of a brick structure. I want it to look good. Obviously, I plan on living in Gallatin for the next 30-plus years. I would like this to be my final home, and this is part of it. So, obviously, there's other unlicensed, in their report, they even mentioned there's unlicensed or unpermitted buildings in Langley already. I'm trying to do it the right way. I don't want to go around the city or do anything. So that's why I wanted to come to you guys and get everything approved. And yeah, like they said, there's other metal buildings on the other side of the road. I know it's not part of the city. There's another large one going up that I believe is in the city on down Coles Ferry Road, in between Langley and the gas station.
Just refresh my memory, so there's no homeowners association on those houses, right?
No, there's
Right.
not.
And then I think we talked about any deed restrictions prohibiting out structures, so nothing prohibiting it there?
I can read it, I pulled it. Detached accessory buildings shall be erected, placed, or constructed at the rear of the house, which it is. Every outbuilding inclusive of such structures as a storage building, detached garages, greenhouse, or children's playhouse shall be compatible with the dwelling to which it is apparent in terms of design and material composition. So, I understand it's not the same material composition, if you want to say, since it isn't brick, but I believe it's compatible since I'm trying to match it as close to the house and, it matches with the neighborhood and the area around with other buildings such as that in the area, so.
I thought Jim had said that there weren't any others in Langley, in the new Langley development. But
No,
are in some
there is
areas.
no metal building or pole buildings like that. There's some storage sheds that the pre-built ones that they can move in. There's some of those. They noted those aren't permitted or authorized. They never came through the planning commission. So.
We've approved a lot of these when they've come through. My only concern with it really is the deed restrictions on the property read very similar to our own ordinance, that materials and has to be compatible with the house and use the same type of materials. So I guess I don't know if it's a word of caution, would be if we approve it and one of your neighbors interprets that you've put a building on there that is prohibited by the deed restrictions, you may have some liability there. So Because I would, for what you read, I would read that it would have to match the same materials that are on the house. And that's what I recall when I was at the auction, when they auctioned it off, and that's, I remember that stuff being in there. So,
It just, it says greenhouses and child playhouses, though. I mean, I've never seen a brick child playhouse or a brick greenhouse,
yeah.
so.
I mean, I think regardless, it's outside of this body's job to enforce restrictions there. So, I mean, be consistent with what we've done elsewhere. I mean, I'll make a motion to approve it, removing condition number 1 in the ordinance that the structure has to be 70% brick. Or Jim's giving me a look like I just did something wrong.
That condition is either the building has to be constructed as submitted or 70% brick.
Oh,
So,
I'll retract that and just say motion to approve.
We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Harris to approve with all conditions. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. That's J. Morrell. So discussion on the motion. I'll really pose a question to the body. When was it, how long ago was it that this whole process started by which we had to look at this? It's been about 3 years ago.
About 3 years ago.
But everybody remembers the original case that brought about this process. I see a lot of similarities between this case and that original case. Can anyone tell me how the two are different?
What, a real answer? I mean, like an honest answer? Neighbors aren't raising Cain? I mean, to me, like, I really like wanted to second it, but if somebody brings civil action against you, I don't want somebody to say, well, the mayor supported this.
That's why I
But,
put on the record what I did.
you know, it's not our responsibility for what you do that may or may not violate your deed restrictions. It's our responsibility to approve or not approve, I think, fairly and consistently. And this is why I'm a big fan of HOAs. I don't want to live in one, but as far as, keeping these decisions away from the city, because then you're governed by that, or the absence of that.
Yeah, and I think, John, to your question, the original one, I think it was on Longboat, was a RV storage building that was 10 foot off of the property line that was right next to the neighbor's house. So it was a little different conversation. It was a large building.
And it was almost as large as the house.
Yeah, yeah. So,
This one, what is the ratio as far as the square foot? How many square feet is this building? Roughly how many square feet is your house?
I think they said 1,500.
Yeah, it's in the report. This is 1,500, my house is 2250, 2230.
70%. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to remind you that this is a site plan modification, so we don't send notices out to area property owners or adjacent property owners, and we don't post the property, so.
Seeing no other discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye.
aye.
All opposed? No. So it's 2. I didn't get, Mr. Strother, how did you vote? Aye? Okay.
4-2.
All right, so 4-2.
4-2.
No, Mr. Wilson and I voted no. Oh, so the motion is approved.
Thank you.
Item number 9 is resolution number 2023-062, Phase 1A renovations and additions for Gallatin Department of Electricity site plan.
right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The owner and applicant request approval of a site plan for Phase 1A renovations and additions for Gallatin Department of Electricity on 11.6 acres, zone CG Commercial General and R10 Medium Density Residential. Phase 1A includes a 22,920 square foot truck loading warehouse, here, well, there. A 9,456 square foot truck parking bay here. And a small expansion of the existing office building. The plan includes a master layout for future expansions, which can be seen up here. As long as no exceptions are requested for the future expansions, staff believes that the rest of the additions can be handled with administrative amendments to the site plan. Staff recommends approval of resolution number 2023-062 or 062 with 8 conditions.
Thank you, Jim. Do we have a representative for the applicant?
Hello, I'm Brad Martin, Lyle Cook Martin Architects, architect for the project. Dave Allman Engineers, civil engineer for the project. And we're here to answer any questions. We reviewed the resolution. We agree with it. There are several stipulations that need to be submitted at the appropriate time, like a photometric plan once that's developed. Several signage plans once that's developed, those type of things. So we're in total agreement with what you're asking for.
Okay, questions or discussion?
I'll make it easy. Motion to approve with staff's 8 conditions of approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Harris to approve with the staff's 8 conditions of approval, second by C.J. Morrell. Any discussion? Seeing none.
Site plan?
Seeing no discussion, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Item number 10 is resolution number 2023-054, Villas on the Green, Phase 1 and 2, an amended preliminary master development plan and revised final master development plan. And this will include a public comment.
Yes, the owner and applicant request approval of an amended PMDP and revised FMDP for the Villas on the Green project for 68 multifamily units on 13.06 acres. The Villas on the Greens is a gated community with the main entrance at Nashville Pike. The HOA will maintain private roads, sidewalks, driveways, signage, landscaping within this development once constructed. The amendment removes the triplex model that was added with the most recent FMDP and reverts the plan back to an earlier version of 68 total units. So on your screen now, that was the change that they proposed, the triplexes in Phase 2A. And this is what was originally approved and what they will be reverting back to. Phase 2A was actually platted with the quadplex and duplex units, so they will not have to replat it. They'll have to do some address changes, but the plat's already been recorded. No other changes are proposed with this development, and since the density is decreasing and the plans are changing back to an earlier version of the development, staff recommends that the Planning Commission consider this request a minor amendment to the PMDP. This item will have a public comment, and staff does recommend approval of the resolution with 2 conditions. Thank you.
Before we hear from the applicant, I'll open a public comment. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak in regards to item number 10, Villas on the Green? Seeing no one wanting to speak, we'll close the public comment and ask for a representative for the applicant to come forward.
Bobby Bell, Los Design. I'm the civil engineer on the project. I think Jillian's summarized it pretty well. We're just reverting back to what was originally approved.
You agree with both conditions?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Motion that it be a minor.
Yeah, thank you. That's, we have a motion by C.J. Morrell that it be a minor, seconded by Mr. Wilson. Any discussion on major and minor? Seeing none, then all in favor of being considered a minor amendment indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. It is a minor amendment. Now to the item at hand, entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
We have, we had a motion to approve by Mr. Strother. Do you second that?
Yeah.
Okay, so a motion to approve with both staff's conditions? Mr. Strother?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 11 is resolution number 2023-060, Northfield Church New Family, amended preliminary master development plan and revised final master development plan. This will include a public comment.
Val Martinez, planning staff. The owner and applicant are seeking approval of an amended PMDP/revised FMDP for 2100 Nashville Pike. This property is currently zoned MRO, and this request really only applies to the northwest portion of the lot. The proposed work includes the addition of an outdoor family restroom to be constructed of cinder block and metal siding, and repurposing of an existing basketball court into a pickleball court, and a remodel of the existing playground with the addition of 4 permanent canopy structures, 6 additional parking spaces, including 2 ADA spots, and an accessible sidewalk. Planning staff had very minor comments and recommends approval with 5 conditions.
Okay.
Here's a bit more detail as to the work. This is the northwest corner of the lot. This is the playground that would be repurposed, the outdoor restroom, the basketball courts being turned into pickleball, and here's the sidewalk with additional parking spaces. And here's some examples of those canopy structures, and it's kind of hard to tell here, but this is an example of the outdoor restroom. It's primarily cinder block with some metal siding for detail.
Thank you, Val. Let me open a public comment first. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in regards to item number 11, Northfield Church? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment. We'll ask for a representative for the applicant to step forward.
Jim Harrison, CSTG. We're in agreement with all the comments. I did have one comment, number 4. Appreciate staff working with us on this. This is very much, let me explain a couple things first. That the playground is very much being repurposed, which was a play area before. And then the basketball courts is just a resurface and basically some equipment. The parking spaces that are shown on this plan are already existing pavement. We're just restriping those and building a sidewalk to make those accessible. The one comment that I had that I wanted to change a little bit has more to do with, it's number 4. It has more to do with the existing circumstances out there. The whole site is currently on a septic system. Any sewage that we have from this small restroom is going to be fairly minimal. It's more of an on-site plumbing codes type review that we'll go through versus it's also in White House Utility Districts area as well. So it wouldn't normally go back to Gallatin Public Utilities. So I think if we could adjust that comment number 4 to just say plumbing could be reviewed by codes or something like that, I think it'd be more applicable to what we're doing. That said, we do have larger improvements that we're proposing on the campus. And we will be coming back. We are coordinating with White House Utility District on how to turn that whole septic system into a public sewer as we do larger things on the campus. Just want to make sure y'all are aware of that. We'll be coming back to you the next couple months with those larger improvements that we have on the campus. Hope that makes sense.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Entertain a motion as to whether this is a major or a minor amendment.
Motion, it's a minor amendment.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Harris, seconded by Mr. Morrell, that it be a minor amendment. All those, or any discussion regarding major or minor? Then all those in favor of it being a minor amendment indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it is a minor amendment. Now entertain a motion on the item itself.
So moved.
Motion to approve with 5 conditions. Do you, Mr. Strother, do you want to modify any of the conditions or per the applicant's suggestion, or are you approving with conditions as written?
We, also with the applicant's conditions.
This is in the White House Utility District, and so we can easily make that they just meet the requirements of the White House Utility District.
That you said that was
That's
item
satisfactory.
4?
Yeah, I would just swap that out.
So we have a motion by Mr. Strother to approve with staff's 5 conditions, but amending condition 4 to state plumbing to be reviewed and approved by codes and White House Utility District.
I'll second.
We have a second by the mayor. Discussion? Just a discussion, you mentioned that the bathroom, restroom facilities would be a cinder block. When you say cinder block, do you mean like a split-face cinder block, or are you talking about 1970s?
It's a split face. It matches what we've done in the Summer Center, very consistent with what we've already had approved out there on the church right now.
That's perfect. Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, they'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion approved.
Thank you.
Item number 12 is resolution number 2023-058, McCain Station Hotel, an amended preliminary master development plan and revised final master development plan. And this will include a public comment.
Emily Lang, staff planner. The owner and applicant request approval of an amended preliminary master development plan and revised master development plan for the McCain Station Hotel on a 2.80 acre portion of proposed Lot 2, zone PGC, Plan General Commercial, located north of Sweetbriar Way. The originally approved PMDP, an assisted living / retail use was identified for Lot 2, an office / hotel was identified for Lot 3. With this revision, the applicant is requesting to transfer the location and use of the hotel and the associated building height exception of 55 feet from proposed Lot 3 to Lot 2. Transient habitation is a permitted use in the PGC Plan General Commercial District. Amended PMDP / FMDP includes architectural elevations that don't meet the 70% brick stone requirement. The applicant is requesting approval of an alternative architecture plan, which is something that's in common with hotels. Something I did want to draw your attention to is that there will be LED strip lighting used to downlight materials transitions and various architectural forms. So that could be a concern for nighttime, which will draw attention to the building. Other than that, the Planning Department recommends Planning Commission consider this request a minor amendment and recommends approval of the resolution with 11 conditions.
Thank you, Emily. Before I hear from the applicant, I'll open a public comment. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak in regards to item number 12? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment and we'll ask for a representative for the applicant to step forward.
Avery Steed with Fulmer Lucas. We're the engineer of record on this project, and we agree with all of staff's conditions that they've set forth, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Questions for the applicant before we vote on major or minor? We'll entertain a motion as to whether it's a major or minor amendment. Motion by Mr. Wilson, that'd be a minor amendment, seconded by C.J. Morrell. Any discussion? Seeing none, then call for the vote. All those in favor of being considered a minor amendment indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, it is a minor amendment. As far as the item itself, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve staff's 11 conditions of approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Harris to approve with all 11 staff's conditions, seconded by C.J. Morrell. Any discussion on that?
I guess my only thing is, she brought up that it did not meet the 60% brick or stone do we need to remove a condition, or does our approval make that okay?
It's not one of the conditions of
Okay.
approval.
Awesome.
Any further discussion?
No, it's a good-looking building.
It is.
Okay.
Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion approved. Item number 13 is resolution number 2023-064, McCain Station Self-Storage, amended preliminary master development plan and revised final master development plan. And this item will include a public comment.
The owner and applicant requests approval of an amended PMDP for McCain Station and a revised FMDP for McCain Station Self-Storage on an 11.41 acre portion of a parcel. This is located north of Highway 386 and east of Big Station Camp Boulevard. This amendment will change the proposed use on the property from hotel office to a self-storage facility, limited warehousing with surface parking. The previously approved PMDPs, although they indicated a potential use, did not include any specific hotel or office information or buildings on this lot. The proposed self-storage facility includes 4 self-storage buildings, 3 covered parking structures, an office, and surface parking for vehicular, boat, and RV storage. No parking will be permitted on the site except in marked parking spaces or within buildings. The facility will be enclosed by a 6-foot-tall black vinyl-coated fence around the parking area and buildings and a 4-foot-tall aluminum picket fence along Sweetbriar Way. Buffer yards have been provided per the code requirements. The vegetation on portions of the property within the TVA easement are restricted in the height and limiting the type of vegetation that can be installed. Please note that easement going through the property, that has made it more difficult to develop, and that is why the surface parking is in the area where it is, to accommodate that. They have also accommodated your bioretention and stormwater in the corner of the property where there is some existing vegetation, which they will be able to maintain. The buffer yard, in our opinion, is one of the most vital parts of this plan and the view from 386. They have provided substantial landscaping in as much as they can in the TVA's easement, as well as around the perimeter of the site along Sweetbriar. The buildings are also angled, that the more open door areas are interior to the site, and that anything facing out on 386 is a predominantly brick facade. They are preserving some natural landscaping areas in the corners of the property where it is available. This particularly keeps a type 40 buffer yard on the east side of the property adjacent to residential property. They are maintaining that as is. All buildings feature predominantly brick facades with an ephes parapet. The buildings that include garage doors or covered parking face the interior of the site to limit the view from the public right-of-way. Almost all facades meet the 70% brick stone requirement as required in the zoning ordinance. When you get into some of these facades with the garages, it's tough to meet that percentage just because there's so much garage door, but they are still all over 60%. A use change can be considered a major amendment to an approved PMDP. However, the Planning Commission may compare the impacts of the 2 uses and find them compatible, or that the impact of the change of use is not significant. While the 4-story hotel office included a building height exception, and that has been moved to an adjacent parcel with the last approval, the self-storage will meet the height allowance of the PGC zoning district. I believe the tallest building is a little over 29 feet. A hotel office would also generate more traffic than a storage facility would, although the storage facility will allow for parking of boats and RVs and likely include larger vehicles rather than standard vehicles. Parking these vehicles could result in a larger visual impact. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission consider this request a major amendment to the preliminary master development plan. And this item does have a public comment, but staff does recommend approval of this resolution with 10 conditions. Thank you.
Before we hear from the applicant, I will open a public comment. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak in regards to item 13, McCain self-storage? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment and ask for a representative for the applicants to come forward.
Hi, I'm Ralph Canals with South Star. We're the applicant, and I have Josh King, our planner here, as well as Matt Taylor, our engineers here in the audience if we need him. So, happy to answer any questions.
Do you agree with all staff's 10 conditions?
We agree with the conditions. Would like to make one distinction. We believe it's a minor amendment, and we'd ask that you would consider this maybe as a minor amendment as opposed to major. I think what we're doing, we've really done a good job of meeting all the standards that they had asked us to do, and I think that this community would ask us to do, so.
Okay. So as far as a major and minor, the litmus test for, well, not litmus test, but the conditions to consider are change of use, circulation, density, lowers the height, this lowers traffic or reduces traffic. Seems to fit the characteristics of a minor.
I would tend to agree in this case. I think that if we were having the discussion of adding the use completely and we did not have the conditional use on the original PMDP, then, I mean, if the conditional use was not on the original PMDP, then I think this would constitute a major amendment. But the fact that we have the conditional use there that's already been approved, I think this classifies as a minor amendment.
Put that in the form of a motion.
Yeah. I feel differently. I feel like it should be a major because I feel like it's kind of a focal point area. And I'm sitting here trying to visualize 29 feet, what that might look like. And I mean, I get that there's a need for it. I get that it's a hard to fit in area for other uses, but I just think it's something that would be wise to have the council be aware of and actually, vote upon, because it's something that's going to take a place as a, well, not a landmark, what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to make an appearance right there as you're driving into Gallatin.
Jillian, just a question, that conditional use, so that was approved as a part of the original PMDP?
So I believe the way that it's indicated on the PMDP is that no specific parcel said this is going to be limited warehousing, but they did have a comment that conditional uses and permitted uses within PGC could be considered on all of these lots. It wasn't approved on a lot. It wasn't called out specifically. So I don't want to give that impression. So not specific terms.
The PMDP is intended to be very much a preliminary document. I mean, as far as the residential portion, yes. I think if major things changed on that, then that would be a major. But changing a use from one parcel to another, like we just did on the previous item, from, what was it, assisted living to hotel? I mean, what was supposed to go in next to, they had a potential office/hotel, and now the hotel is going across the street. Now, yes, we did vote for that to be changed for the hotel to go there, and voted that it be a minor amendment, but.
And see, I'm just looking at the views of what it's going to look like from the road, and that's what I'm having a hard time with. I mean, it's really nice looking storage building. But
Mayor, to your point, we've worked very closely with the city staff on buffering the impacts and the visual appearance of the self-storage, stepping up the architecture of the buildings, ensuring no doors were visible from the right-of-way, and then adding as much landscaping far exceeding what the city's normal buffering requirements are, as well as eliminating almost a third of the on-site parking, exterior parking, to be able to pull the parking back even further from 3 to 6, even though the view shed into the site is still going to be very limited.
yeah. Well, I'm like, the westbound view, that's lovely. But then you look below the overpass, or you look from the top of the overpass, or from 386 perpendicular to the site, and it just, it's hard for me.
I'll make a motion that this be a minor amendment.
We we have a second? I'll second the motion. Any discussion? So discussion, the buffer, the landscape buffer that is to screen the property, is it underneath the height restriction power lines or the easement to limit the height of those plants, or is that outside of that easement?
Matt Taylor of SEC, we're the civil engineers and landscape architects on the project. All of the proposed buffering that we're doing on the site is outside of the TVA easement. And so anything that we are proposing under TVA easement is low ground cover or shrubs. So all the substantial plantings that are either to remain or be planted are outside the TVA easement.
You haven't, I'm looking through plans, you haven't provided, your landscape plan, does it call out types of plants or, yeah, there it is.
Yes, sir. They're identified in the plan view on L11 through 14, and then the plant table itself is on 2.0.
Which page, L1 through L4, is the most crucial from, as far as providing buffering from?
I would say that L13 and L14. L14 is the kind of the southwestern corner, and then the L13 is going to be your southeastern corner. And so those will basically straddle that TVA easement. Both of those, we're doing a combination of leaving existing plant material and planting new material there to supplement the existing on both of those instances.
Trying to find the plant key.
I mean, another comment that I'll make, I think that if these looked like just normal storage unit buildings, that my motion would be completely different. But the fact that these look over and above what they really are, I mean, if you look at it, it almost looks like an office building from the street.
And I think that was our goal with the architecture. I'm not an architect, I'm a dumb dirt guy, but you know, that was the goal. And this team specifically has implemented that in a couple of other projects around Middle Tennessee as well, and done that successfully.
Sorry, I'm going back and forth between the plant code and the pages. Is a lot of your buffering material down on the southern edge of the property all deciduous material?
So if I'm looking at L 1.4, and so a lot of that buffering is located directly against, 386 is right away there. And so I'm seeing IX and CJ and CD called out. And so whenever I look back at the plant table, IX is an oak leaf holly, which is an evergreen. The CJ is a Japanese cedar, which is an evergreen. And I think the CD was the other one. It is another form of cedar. So all three of those are evergreen type plants. So we want that all year buffer there. And so that's exactly what they're trying to provide.
Well, those three plants that you just called out are no longer existent after the Christmas freeze. So I'm just asking, I think to make sure that this is screened properly, if we can change those to like a green giant arborvitae, the fastest possible growing evergreen that will give screening. There's a storage facility across the way, not directly across the way. Those are a fast growing arborvitae that grows to probably 30-something feet, if not more.
Let me
have that height?
We typically try to avoid planting a single species just in case there is something. If we mix those, we've got some Nellie Stevens mixed in there as well. If we mix those two in, would you be okay with that? We just try to avoid, and I may have my landscape architect looked at it to propose another material. We certainly don't mind the green giant arborvitae. I was just trying to find a second species to go with that.
Sure. And these plans, I'm sure, were drawn before we had this devastating freeze where we discovered that some of those species are not going to be reliable screening plants here. If we could, well, first of all, I'm sorry, well, right now we're talking about major and minor. I'll come back to that discussion. We have a motion on the floor and a second that it be a minor amendment. Any further discussion on major or minor? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of being considered a minor amendment indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. That motion fails.
It's 3-3.
I thought it was just two voted yes. Who voted? I voted yes, and
Y'all all voted yes. And
let me show of hands. All those in favor of being a minor amendment indicate by raising your hand. Okay, so I'm sorry, it's 3. And all those opposed? Okay, y'all were just louder. So
I didn't realize how Matt voted. I'm sorry.
we are split. Help me with Robert's rules. What happens when a motion is split and there's... Doesn't pass, okay. Motion fails because it's split, but that still doesn't decide whether it's major or minor. Don't know what to do there.
Oh, we have a commission of 7 on a normal day.
Are there any further questions from the no votes that we can address tonight, either through exhibits, we've got a presentation prepared, or just discussion about the intent of what the screening buffers, how we've mitigated the impacts of changing this use? If there's anyone that's on the fence, if we can help sway you one way or another.
I mean, I truly feel like you've done a beautiful job. Just to me, it's still a storage facility. It's in a highly visible area. It looks great from one angle, but not from the others. It, to me, feels very large, and even though you are doing a lot of beautiful landscaping, I just feel like it's going to be impactful as kind of setting the essence of our community as you come in. And because of that, I feel like it needs to go through the process, and the people who represent those areas should weigh in. That's my reason for saying I do feel like it's a major amendment. I also get why it's needed. I mean, it's something, it's an amenity that our citizens would appreciate. So I'm really kind of conflicted on it, but I do think it should be a major amendment.
And with the TVA easement and the TVA line, having been involved with this project since the inception, this was always going to be a challenging area. This area was always going to be used for parking, no matter what the building at the top of the hill turned into. In this case, we were able to create a parking area, but be able to pull it back off of the road, shrink the size of it, add some of the landscaping, delineate the individual aisles so that it feels more like a parking lot and less like a...
Yeah, this is not the worst thing I have seen looked at for some of these, major corridor intersections.
And it also doesn't ignore the fact that it is part of a mixed-use environment. So there was a lot of attention paid to the interior parts of the development and creating buildings and spaces that still complement what exists and what's going to be built in McCain Station.
The only thing I know to do is to say I'll entertain another motion as to whether it's a major or minor, so that the vote can be cast again. And obviously give you an opportunity to ask questions or discuss that. Do I have a new motion on the floor?
Y'all are going to have to make a decision one way or the other, because otherwise you're not going to be able to vote on the regular motion.
Well, I'll make a motion that it be a major amendment.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Harris that it be considered a major amendment, seconded by Mr. Wilson. Discussion on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll explain my reasoning. I think, we had the issues with the storage facility that's on the other side of the road over there that wasn't built the way it was supposed to be built. They're not supposed to have parking outside at all, and it's got boat trailers and stuff scattered all over the place. And they did plant the whole row of green giant arborvitaes. We asked them to put it on a berm to make them taller, and there's a little mound of dirt, so it didn't even get done that way. And there was a lot of pushback for the public over that particular storage facility. And so my concern, I think it's a great project. I think it's done well. The landscaping looks great, and I don't think there's a problem with it from my standpoint. However, the city council, when they approved the development plans, approved it all with it being a hotel. And again, they ultimately answer to the voters. And, I think that they would have had a lot of conversations about the storage facility going there. So I think it's appropriate, to the mayor's point, that those guys get a chance to say that they're okay with it. And I don't have any sense that anybody's not okay with it, but.
Any other discussion?
I'll mention something. I certainly don't want to be part of that conversation if I don't have to, but I think it's important to add that we still have policy in an action policy in our comp plan to ensure that the gateways to the city are attractive. Uses along that gateway are appropriate. So in light of that, that kind of falls in line with what Matt was talking about, the other facility, similar facility up the road. It's much smaller, of course, but it does have direct frontage on 386, which is one of our major gateways into the city.
If there is no other discussion, we have a motion on the floor, and it's been seconded that it be considered a major amendment. By show of hands, all those in favor of it being considered a major amendment indicate by raising your hand. 4. And opposed, 2. All right, so it is a major amendment. It will need to go to city council. The item itself, will entertain a motion regarding the item. It has 10 conditions.
With 10 conditions.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Wilson to approve with 10 conditions, seconded by Mr. Harris. Discussion. I'd like to somehow craft a condition that the selection of plant materials, that's really crucial on this project, that the selection of that you work with staff to modify the selection of plant materials to maximize their screening potential on this property. I would add that as condition 11. So I'm offering an amendment. I'm making a motion to make an amendment to add condition 11.
Second the motion to make the amendment.
Okay. All those in favor of the amendment that we made there indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay. So now we have an amended motion on the floor with 11 conditions that was made by Mr. Wilson, seconded by who? Thank you, Mr. Harris. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Let the record show it was 5 in favor and 1 opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, okay. That one will go to council.
Item number 14 is resolution number 2023-0067, Gallatin Marina Office Building Revised Site Plan. Who's presenting this? Jim?
Yes, sir. Jim Carpenter, staff planner. The owner and applicant request approval of a amended site plan for a 1,500 square foot office building with alternate architecture on a 7.35 acre parcel zoned R15 medium density residential located west of Lock 4 Road and north of Emily Point. The plan originally approved for the building required construction of a parking lot included as part of a previous submittal before a certificate of occupancy could be granted for the new building. The applicant requests removal of that condition. The marina was approved with a conditional use and has grown since the original approval in 1996. So this, kind of for scale, is the original approval with these as the docks for the facility. If we go a little bit further, so starting in 2010, we included a series of aerials to show the growth of the facility from 2010 to 2014 to 2018 to 2022. Typically, additions for the marina have been reviewed by the Army Corps of Engineering, and city staff has not been involved with the exception of a building permit that was issued for the dry docks here. This has resulted in expanding the use of the site without providing parking for those expanded uses. The Gallatin zoning ordinance, Article 11, addresses parking requirements for the uses provided within the facility. The use falls within Schedule B, which allows for the zoning administrator to determine parking requirements based on requirements for similar uses and expected demand, among other criteria. Staff used the benchmark of 1 parking space per 2 marina slips to provide a baseline for required parking for the marina use and the dry storage use. The use for the restaurant is the same as what it would be for any other restaurant, Gallatin. Aerials indicate space for roughly 170 parking spaces on both gravel and asphalt. With the current layout, the combined uses within the site would require 259 spaces. So staff recommends denial of resolution number 2023-067 and would request that the requirement to build the additional parking spaces to meet the need of the combined uses for the site remain. Thank you.
All right, do we have a representative for the applicant present?
He was here a while ago. I saw him. I got a question. You got one spot where it says approve, and you got another spot that says, look at the top of the page.
Oh, are you talking about this? Let's see.
No, he says in the report.
Oh, in the report?
It's denial.
It's denial.
It's an error.
It's an error? Okay.
So, or staff or Jim, so by your calculation, they need 259 parking spaces. So even with the 58 that they were supposed to add, they're still 31 short?
They would be, but that would go a long way towards meeting a more accurate requirement of parking for the site.
I mean, I've read staff's report thoroughly. I mean, this issue, I mean, they've, with the additional marina slips, the restaurant, I mean, if you go over there on the weekends in the summer, there's cars parked everywhere. So, I mean, I think it's pretty simple. I mean, the condition of approval to add the parking was done for a reason when the building was done. So I don't think we need to bend on that. So I mean, I'll make a motion to deny that the condition be removed.
So the staff report is written in the affirmative, and staff has recommended that we deny that. So you're making a motion to deny. Is it correct?
Correct, in essence, yes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion to deny by Mr. Harris, seconded by Mr. Wilson. Discussion before we call a vote.
For just the clarity, that has them, requires them to put the parking in.
That is correct.
Correct.
That is
So,
correct.
if I may,
1 second.
Did the applicant step out to the restroom or something? Because I'm very concerned if they've been here the whole time and
I
now they
never,
left.
I never saw him. I've been looking for him all night.
Did you see him here?
Yes, he was here on the very back row.
I don't think that's who that was, Johnny.
It sure looked like it.
I've never seen him.
I just want to make sure that we don't take a vote at the one moment he stepped out, but, okay.
But Mike, I would add, just for clarity, just when we put it on the record, you know, the requirement for parking lots is that it be a dustless surface. There'd be nothing stopping them from installing just a tar and chip parking lot, which would be much less expensive than a full-blown asphalt or concrete parking lot. It would probably be appropriate for the type of use at a marina.
I would agree.
So, you know, so anyway, go ahead, Jim. Yeah.
Too. I agree with that.
Yeah,
too.
because that's
Much more cost effective.
yeah, I mean, it's half the price.
It requires more maintenance, but
But,
is much more cost effective.
yeah, but, you know, the applicant's asking for relief because of the cost of installing the parking lot. So in that way, we can offer a suggestion that, you know, gives some relief, but still gets the necessary parking installed.
So I understand, if I understand this correctly, with this vote, if we vote aye, we're denying it and requiring him to build a parking lot that was previously approved, correct? Just want to explain that. And he doesn't get his certificate of occupancy for the office until that task is complete, is that correct?
How about this? I'm going to make an amendment to the motion just to add a condition to it, just for what's on the record, that a tar and chip surface would be acceptable for the parking lot.
I'll second that.
okay.
Any discussion on the tar and chip amendment?
No, sir.
All those in favor of the tar and chip amendment to the original motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now, we stand at the original, wait a minute. It doesn't do you any good to make the amendment because we're denying the motion.
I know, I just wanted it in the record.
It's fair enough, yeah, fair enough, okay. So now, the original motion with how many conditions?
2.
Two,
All right,
plus the third, which is the amendment.
question.
Yes.
With us denying this, he's got, like,
He can't get a CO until he builds a parking lot.
okay.
That was what I was asking is does that?
Yes.
I didn't know if he had to
doesn't
come
get
back in front of us.
No, but that was the reason, the whole reason we tied the parking lot to the building was to
Yeah.
ensure that he built the parking lot.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and he, you know, the applicant also failed to show up at the meeting when the building was approved the last time.
Yeah.
So,
Very,
There's also a situation with the parking of the trailers down by,
there's more issues out there. But
I'm very surprised the applicant's not here, so. We'll call for the vote then, just to remind everybody, by voting yes, you are denying the application and requiring him to build the parking lot in order to get his CO. All those in favor of that indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. Motion is denied.
Who made the second to the motion? Well, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that concludes our regular agenda items. Do we have any other business to discuss and announcements?
I will mention that our staff, we make a prediction about when these meetings will end. And I predicted 6:24, so if we can sit around and discuss.
No. Yeah, Emily's going to win, so.
No, but I do have one comment.
that request is denied, just for the record. You start talking and go along with
I
it.
do have one legitimate comment, is that I'm putting together a refined scope for the zoning code finally, moving forward with that. Looks like we're on track to get that rolling. And I want y'all to be thinking between now not tonight necessarily, but between now and the work session next week, about specific items that you would like to have considered in that zoning code that we might not address now or we don't appropriately address in the code. So we can kind of have a better listing, begin a listing of some of the more pertinent things that y'all are dealing with that maybe are not properly addressed in our code, so. That's it.
That won't keep me up at night. Just.
Put you right to sleep.
6:13, I can't remember who picked that time. Emily did, okay. So you're.
Second?
No other announcements?